What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker.
Amir, Rahimi.
And today on The Great Debaters, man, we go into the underground in many ways, literally and figuratively. Brotha Lynch hung 24 deep. Man, great material. All right, Amir, so we're back here on The Great Debaters. You know, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Unique Access. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Right down there, and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews, great debaters, commentaries, 1st to 15th, and other things as possible. Please hit that subscribe button, like, subscribe, share our content, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. We appreciate your support in getting us this far. If you haven't already, you can also join right next to subscribe. We got 3 different tiers of how you can help us in that way. Now, Amir, Brotha Lynch is a genius rapper. He's also a very controversial rapper. He's also, to some people, an acquired taste. Thankfully, thanks to my boy Dave Weiner, I've had the pleasure of interviewing Brotha Lynch. He reconnected me. There's a link right there with Lynch, who I hadn't talked to in several years, but got him on Unique Access, and Lynch's discography is crazy and imaginative. So, that being said, 24 Deep, Amir, how did you get introduced to this project? And let's get into your first pick. And because this is such a short project, we're only going to do our top 2 on this one, just so you know. But Amir, Brotha Lynch, how did you get into 24 Deep?
I don't remember how I first heard of Brotha Lynch. I will say that I do remember hearing him on some Tech 9 stuff. And also he was on Strange Music for some time, but maybe it was around that era.
Okay.
But yeah, I got into him like a while back, probably a decade ago plus. But yeah, started off with this album and Season of the Sickness, or this EP or album, whatever they market it as, and then Season of Sickness as well. But that was it. 24 Deep. First of all, the cover's just insane. I mean, he's in a casket with his gun, and even his back cover art or back art is also crazy. But 24 Deep, man, is gonna be one of my picks. The title track, and I mean, this sample, usually whenever I hear it, the I've Been Watching You sample, it's really, 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 really dope. In most instances, it's sampled in so many damn songs I couldn't even tell you. I mean, since we're talking about Brotha Lynch, I do remember Dre Dogg doing it too. But man, I mean, one thing on this album or EP, whatever, this is definitely probably my favorite beat on it. I mean, that sample's great. Brotha Lynch produced all of it, all this album. I think he did the writing, the production, all that. So that was impressive because I actually didn't know Brotha Lynch really did that till I read the liner notes. So that's cool. But when you start to hear him rap, I mean, he is
a true master of the craft.
He knows how to rap. Let's just put it that way. He knows how to rap, and that's one thing, one thing that pisses me off. People talk about, some artists, like, these underground artists or like these West Coast artists or whatever. Dude, I don't care. Some people can have great lyrics and they're not that good at rapping. This guy, I think, has both, even though the lyrics are wild. I think the way he crafts words together are fascinating and awesome, and you can tell this guy does not give a shit about anything. I mean, this guy's nuts. And the song 24 Deep is so good, and he gives you so many reasons why to keep listening to the album. And man, oh man, oh man. I actually am curious to know what Soren's thoughts were when he first heard Brotha Lynch, so I'll pass it to you. 24 Deep, my first pick.
24 Deep's also one of my picks on the 24 Deep project, but the song, I believe, was the first Brotha Lynch song I ever heard, and I just remember thinking, like, oh my goodness, this dude, who is this dude? Like, what is going on right now? Because this dude is super gangster, the beat's incredible, the force that he's doing it, the way he's moving on the beat, the undulating styles he's using, like slowing it up, speeding it, just everything. I was just mesmerized hearing this song. It's talking a lot about X-Rated, who, of course, got caught up in all these different things. So I was learning about Sacramento. I'm learning about X-Rated. I'm learning about Brotha Lynch. He's just taking me to this other world. We got Xzibit, we got Brotha Lynch, we got X-Rated. Those are like the three titans of the Sacramento world. And I talk about all three of them. Special part of my book, The History of Gangster Rap. Pick it up if you haven't already, whether in print or audio book. But, man, this dude just came out blazing, literally and figuratively, on 24 Deep. The beat works so well because it's the part of that song that he samples, like most people do. It's very stark and very menacing, and it's also slow. So when Lynch is rapping fast, or Lynch is rapping menacingly but with aggression, it just is a perfect foil for what's going on musically. And it just heightens it up, because that's, to me, like in a horror movie. And Lynch, clearly, if you listen to Lynch's music, he's a big fan of horror films. Part of the horror film that makes the horror movie so scary is when the person is either running or trying to get away, and the bad guy in the film is moving slowly, because that's like scary. They're not running after you because they know they're going to get you. Yeah. And that, to me, is like kind of how this beat works. Like, that's the theme music for Lynch, but he's rapping in a different speed and tone and style and all that, whereas the beat is so slow and methodical, like you would see like with a Jason or a Michael Myers in a film. They're not running after you. They're walking, and they're going to get you, because that's what they do. And that's what Lynch does, man. It's just so brilliant. 24 Deep. It's just an amazing song that really shows like this dude is top of the class. Like, he's putting it down. And like I said, the history and the insight of what's going on, it's a brilliant expose, I think, and a great introduction, and part of what made me really become indoctrinated with, like, yo, this Lynch dude, I gotta really pay attention to him and follow his career, because this song just came out the gate, and I was like, this dude is killing it. And then, I'd never been to Sacramento at the time. I also I didn't know that much about the scene or whatever, but I was like, man, if this is what the dudes in Sacramento are like, I'm like, this city's gonna be serious when it gets in the game. So that's my first pick on 24 Deep. Amir, what's your second pick on Brotha Lynch songs 24 Deep?
Yeah, Soren, I can only imagine what you were thinking after hearing 24 Deep and hearing like Xzibit, X-Rated, all these people, and then even like other West Coast songs with more of the gangster stuff. You were probably thinking like L.A., Sacramento, like Oakland, even like all these places are just very dangerous, very insane places to visit. I mean, that's what I would assume you were thinking in that time. But
yeah, man, I was like, man, this is wild.
Brotha Lynch is just one of those people that it's insane, and you'll hear that even more, if you can believe it or not, on my second pick.
Well, before you get to that, it's funny you say that, because growing up, I grew up right in between Baltimore and Washington, and when I was growing up, both of those places, sadly, especially Baltimore, still gets all the press as being such a dangerous city, which it is, and which it was. More dangerous, arguably, when I was growing up, and I'd be going there on a regular basis, as was the case with D.C. But I just remember thinking, like, man, if Baltimore and D.C. are this wild and this crazy, and I don't even know about Sacramento, but how someone like Brotha Lynch or Xzibit or X-Rated are rapping about it, like, man, are they crazier than Baltimore? Are they worse than D.C.? And so, that all depends on your perspective to a degree, but I just remember thinking, to your point, Amir, like, man, Baltimore and D.C., I've seen some of the most horrific things I've ever seen in my life in those two cities, especially more so in Baltimore. But, oh my goodness, to understand these stories from these different artists from different parts of the country, as in Houston with Ghetto Boys and Gangster Nip in particular, I was just always like, oh my goodness, like these places sound so wild. Anyway, quick side note. So back to the lecture at hand. So what's your second pick here on 24 Deep, Amir?
Second pick's another one that's insane. I mean, really, the whole project is, and his discography for the most part is. So we have Backfade, which is my second pick, and on this one, I also like the beat. And as you hear throughout the album, he's talking to the devil, so that's interesting. Especially, it's always funny to me on, I think it was the last song of the album where he's talking to the devil and he's basically saying he doesn't believe in him and all these things. Then he ends up killing him or shooting him. I just think that's hilarious. But Backfade, dude, Brotha Lynch is going in really hard. And this is the first time that I personally had heard cannibalism in rap. And I know some other rappers do it, but I think Brotha Lynch is most known for it of all the rappers, for sure. I mean, especially, I remember actually even before I heard this album, because I told you I was listening to Tech Nine, and I'd heard Brotha Lynch on that label. He had that one song on, I forget what it was called, but it was the song where he's like eating meat on camera. It was just disgusting. I forget what the song was called, but it was on one of the Tech Nine Strange Music albums. It was on one of the Brotha Lynch albums on Strange Music. But
part of the Coat Hanger Strangler trilogy.
Yeah, one of those albums. I was like, oh man, this is gross. It may have been called Raw, or I don't remember what it was called. But dude, that shit was wild. And then when I heard this Backfade in particular, where he's talking about it, and he's talking about eating people's meat and all this, and like, dude, this is just wild. Like, I just see. So what I want to know, right? You get Brotha Lynch who's saying it, and whether he's down for it or not is another thing. But I'll just keep that to myself. But then it's like, who are the people who are in the studio with him, like hearing this, or the people like in his gang or his friends or his family or whatever, and they're hearing this? And Brotha Lynch, like I said, I don't think he cares. It's like he's probably saying all this stuff, and he's just like, yeah, that's how I feel. And I can only imagine that. And I've also seen his interviews, and like, yeah, this is a serious dude. So I'm just thinking, like, what are these other people thinking who are in his circle?
Right.
Because I find that wild. And then also the cool thing about Brotha Lynch, this song, as well as just the album in general, is he's talking about like being a Crip and other these things too. And you know, these things were generally associated with Los Angeles, so to hear that it went all the way up to Sacramento, California is a huge state, you have to imagine, it's hundreds of miles, and to know that it made it all the way up there, and he has his own gang, and as you know, other Sacramento rappers talk about it too, but that's also very interesting. So to hear like these elements in Backfade, to hear how just insane he is on the mic, and I'm not saying like, there's some rappers, for example, like Gangster Nip. He's also a rapper that really goes for shock value, but Gangsta Nip is not on the level of rapping as a Brotha Lynch Brotha Lynch there's levels to this. There's some people who can do shock value, and there's some people who can do it and really flow extremely well with it, and Brotha Lynch is taking it to that next level of the game, and I think you'll see that on 24 Deep, on Backfade, and really every song on this project, from the lyrical standpoint and the way that he's putting his words together, is really actually, it's some of the best you'll really hear in rap. And we've talked about a lot of stuff on Unique Access, great debaters, and man, that's my second pick. What about you, Soren?
That's not my second pick, although I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it's a very, very powerful song, and the whole project, despite its brevity, I think is stellar. Mine has Had to Gatcha, and I think it's part of because the beginning of this project, 24 Deep, is so strong, and because at the time, or especially at the time, my affinity for Cypress Hill was through the roof. So because of the eponymous album, 1991 Cypress Hill album. But, you know, How I Could Just Kill a Man is an amazing song. Having the sample of that in there, I think, just drives it. And then on top of that, what Lynch says and does on the song, I think, ties into all of that, because it just fits into this chaos, mayhem, psychopathic type of dude that we're dealing with on the mic. And then, as Amir had mentioned, when you then take a step back and appreciate and understand that he also produced all this, also engineered it, also mixed it, and he did basically everything start to finish, then it's like, wait a minute, this dude is one of those rapper producers that's the highest level of artistry. Because when you can have a vision lyrically, but then also bring it to life musically, as Brotha Lynch does throughout 24 Deep, to me, that is the highest level of an artist. And that, you know, not to discount those that don't, but I think it gives you an extra notch on the belt that'd be like, oh, you know, I also did all the beats. And that to me, you know, had to get you. And then just the funk on there, the muscular, the slow down type of feel of that beat, and then the not slowed downness of Lynch rapping. It's just, to me, it just works so well, the contrast, as we get a lot through 24 Deep. But for you, Amir, with Had to Get You, what do you think of that track?
Lynch, man. That guy just steals the show, dude. And that's one thing I wish we got to hear features on this too, just so I can just see like how they would do with Lynch on these songs, because I feel like Lynch would I feel like he'd outshine anyone really. But man, geez, it's a good song. It's a good project. I'm sure we'll talk about Season the Sickness too, because I don't think we've talked about that yet.
We haven't. I'm sure we will. But man, 24 Deep I wanted to talk about mainly because of 24 Deep and Had to Get You. But to Amir's point, this is an introduction to an artist that, because of his subject matter, is just not going to appeal to certain people. But the skill, the talent, and his ability to basically do everything by himself, to me, sets him apart and puts him in rarefied air in rap. So that's why I'm glad we're talking about 24 Deep. Brotha Lynch Hung, thank you for this project, man. It's a masterpiece. As always, please hit us in the comment section. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, and if you haven't already, please join. And if you want to read a little bit more about Brotha Lynch, you can pick up my book, The History of Gangster Rap, audio or print version. And as always, appreciate your guys' support in helping us grow and get to this level. I'm Soren Baker.
Amir, Rahimi.
And thank you, Brotha Lynch, for 24 Deep, man. Great project.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence, thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap, written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.